Morning.
Hey everybody.
Morning.
So glad to have Dave back with us this morning. This is his third time.
I am a veteran here.
Yay! I'm Sterling Grimes.
I'm Trevor Foote.
And I'm Dave Ashman.
And Dave Ashman. So what a more timely topic. I feel like we bring this up every week, but Dave is a great lender here in our community that Trevor and I have used many, many times, and he is here to talk to us, help us talk through what is going on with rates right now, because we have had so many changes over the past few years. So it seems like we have some good news on the horizon. Is that right?
We really do, and the timing's perfect here because at 8:30 this morning, one of the biggest market mover reports comes out, and that's the Consumer Price Index report, or CPI report, and it's breaking at 8:30 this morning.
You mean in 5 minutes?
In 5 minutes, yeah. So I wish I had
So
that
maybe
information
while we're
right now,
on,
but-
we
had a
could,
live ticker.
yeah.
But that measures core inflation, okay? And
Okay.
that's really what's driving rates, right? That's what's driving the feds to reduce interest rates. They want to see improvement. Just to give you a mark, in 2022, the core inflation rate was over 9%, okay? Last month, in June, the CPI report was at 3%. So there's been a lot of progress.
Oh my
Tremendous
gosh.
improvement.
If this report comes out this morning and shows 3% or 3.2%, I think that's going to be enough ammunition for the feds to go ahead and make their first rate cut of the year.
Okay.
Whether that's
Wow.
a quarter or whether that's a 0.5%, either way it's good news.
So where are they about now?
Well, rates have come down. We're in a good place right now. I mean, I'm quoting rates on government programs, the rates that start with a 5. You know, I'm locking in 5 3/4 on FHA, VA loans, USDA loans. Conventional loans are still in the 6.375. I mean, these are good, promising rates.
They sure are.
I think we're going to continue, based on this report. No one knows what it's going to be, but fingers crossed that we see it flat or even a little improvement, and you're going to see rates trickle down.
And that will,
So-
our phones will start to ring again because, I mean, they're ringing a little, but the buyers are a little hesitant. So I feel like
It will
this will be
create a
good.
rush of people that are on the sidelines right now.
And we need houses, don't we, Sterling? to sell?
Yes, to sell. Yes, yes. So that reminds me. You said that some are in the 5s, some are in the 6s rates. Obviously, has a lot to do with the type of loan and the credit score, and how much they're putting down and all sorts of things, right?
It does. It's very
Okay.
much credit score driven. It's very much loan program driven, and loan size driven. You're right.
Okay.
It's different components.
And when you say that, you're thinking of a fixed loan, right? Not some of these ARMs
I am only speaking about fixed rate
fixed rate,
mortgages.
which is what so many people want when they come to us, and they may or may not be in the position to get that loan type at a rate they can swing. So sometimes they'll do a ARM, but it seems like most people really want to go back to a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I'm sure that's what you see too.
I feel like there's a lot of security. It gives people peace of mind to have something that's fixed, that won't move on a market movement, won't increase on economic news or a world event, that they can count on month after month,
Month after month.
and not be surprised. Yeah, so I think that's
Yes.
important to the consumer.
So those lovely consumers that bought their first home or their next home, unfortunately at an 8% interest, and we did some of those, right? That happened.
I'm not sure, yeah.
Well, not quite 8, but the upper 7s for sure.
We were
for
close.
sure.
We were close
Yes,
to 8 at
yes,
one point.
yes.
You're right.
So what is a good rule of thumb, or is there a rule of thumb about when to refinance? And obviously this isn't necessarily helping Trevor or I sell a house, but it certainly helps you think about what kind of position you're in your own home. So talk to us about
You're right.
refinancing.
And right, every situation is different, and what's going to make a difference in that household as far as payment.
Right.
Certainly, people that have a high 7 interest rate, now is a good time to refinance.
Okay.
There are people I know in this economy in the last couple of years that have survived off of credit cards. And they
Oh,
built
good
those,
point.
We see it.
those credit card balances up. Well, everybody knows a credit card balance or a credit card interest rate is 30%, 29.99 or higher. You're never going to pay that off if you're making a minimum payment, right? So maybe it's time with rates lower to consider doing a cash out refinance. That way you can pay off all your credit card debt and also get a lower interest rate on your mortgage.
That's great. And
Puts you in a much better financial situation.
about how much does that cost? I guess it's different, of course, for every situation, but
It is because there are different variables. You can buy down a rate if it makes sense to get a lower interest rate. But typically, when you refinance, it's a new mortgage, so you still have attorney fees. You still have your escrows. Of course, that's a wash. That's your homeowner's insurance, your property taxes.
You'd have that anyway.
You'd have it anyway, but usually you get a credit from your old when you pay off your old mortgage.
Okay.
To that, so that's kind of a wash there. If you have closed a loan with me in the past year or two, we will not charge any lender fees to refinance you.
wow,
Okay.
very good.
Okay. So that is a benefit. So I guess to answer your question, it's specific to that person's need. I would say, you should look at refinancing here in the near future if you've had a mortgage that you have taken out in the last couple of years.
And that process, I guess there is a home appraisal that gives a new home value.
There is, unless you have a VA or an FHA loan.
Okay.
There's something called a streamline or IRL refinance, where you don't have to produce all the documentation or have an appraisal.
Okay.
And it's a very easy process. The only stipulation on a VA or FHA loan is that you had it for 210 days. I don't know how they come up with that figure, but have it for 210 days and we can do that.
How long does it take to refinance? It's not as long as a home loan, correct?
Well, it is a new mortgage, so anywhere between 3-4 weeks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, and depending on, availability of closing attorneys, if appraisal is needed, there is new title work that needs to be done, that type of thing. Usually you can transfer it over, but there is certain things that have to be done. But we can move as quickly as we need to.
Okay. If somebody is thinking, well, I'll just wait until the start of the new year to kind of consider refinancing or consider buying a home, I know you're not the feds, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what do you think is going to happen? Because we have had multiple projections of decreases that hopefully are finally coming now in a more significant way. So what do you think is going to happen?
Again, total
Shot in the dark here,
shot in
right?
the dark,
And
yeah.
this election coming up,
Yeah, the
too.
election coming
Oh,
up
that's
and whatnot. I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I think we're in a good spot here. I don't want to hex anything, right? Knock on wood. This report comes out flat or better. I think we're going to see our first rate cut, and hopefully that's going to continue to snowball. And we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see 3% rates anymore. So don't want anybody's hopes up about that. But I do think we're going to hit our sweet spot in the 5s. In a conventional
Gosh,
loan.
I would love to see
that would
that
be
on a
great.
conventional.
And keep in mind, your FHA, VA, USDA loans are going to be probably less than that in rate.
Well,
Like I said, I'm in the 5.75 on VA and FHA right now. That's a good, strong rate.
Good. I'm glad your phone number's up there because you all write that down and you can ask Dave any questions about your own financial picture. So, use his smart, resources
Yeah.
to figure out what works best for you.
And I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but when we talk about VA and FHA, many of those allow someone to put less money down to get into a home or no money down. Right? You stop me where I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right. If you have a VA benefit, and if you're lucky enough to have that benefit, and we appreciate your service, by the way, then it's 100% financing with no mortgage insurance on a loan. It's a wonderful loan, low interest rate, probably the best loan out there in my opinion. FHA is another great one. It's a low interest rate. It normally requires 3.5% down payment, very low. We do have a program there. We can marry up a down payment assistance with that, make that also 100% financing. So there
Great.
are options out there.
That loan does have mortgage insurance on it, though.
FHA has mortgage insurance on it for the life of the loan. Yep.
Okay. So if someone has paid off a significant percentage, it really, even though they're FHA and they got a great loan, it really might be worth them looking at refinancing to a conventional without mortgage insurance.
We always put a pencil to it. We
Okay,
always
okay.
will see what benefits the consumer or the borrower best on that. But generally speaking, yeah, if you can do away with mortgage insurance, it's probably a good idea.
Okay. So I want to talk through something that I called you about yesterday for some guidance. So when there are different homes on the market, you as shoppers or Zillow or Realtor.com probably see that it has terms listed, and it'll say cash, conventional, VA, FHA, USDA.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working with the seller of the house in Hunters Point, which is out in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that one listed as USDA because it's in Nashville, so it qualifies as rural, FHA and VA. But I called and talked to Dave yesterday. Certainly the sellers want to sell their home. I'm getting to a point here. Certainly the sellers want to sell their home. But when you think about different loan types, some different loan types require the seller to do different things so far as hooking up to municipal water. So talk to me about VA versus FHA and why when people are shopping, if they've already been pre-approved for VA, they may not see that as an option on a home they look at.
Right. There are different requirements. If you're speaking about water, FHA, there are different overlays different lenders have to make you, if municipal or county water is available and you're on a well, they require you to hook up. We don't necessarily require that if it's reasonable and customary on the appraisal we get back saying that the well is customary in the area, then it's not necessary to hook up. Yeah.
Is that where it would come up, is on the appraisal?
It would, yeah.
Okay. So it's just something as if you're considering selling your home, and I'm thinking of VA really doesn't like to see decay wood.
They don't. They do. There are a couple different, an appraisal, people will say they will take conventional, but they won't take FHA, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is because the old stigmatism of an FHA appraiser will be a little bit more stringent, or a VA appraiser will be more stringent. And the only difference is, I think they look more detail on safety issues or decaying wood. So if you have peeling paint's older house, that's going to be an issue. If you have an outbuilding or shed in the back that has peeling paint or broken windows, that's going to be an issue where it may not be on a conventional.
And that's where having an experienced agent on the listing side, we guide our sellers into these before we even put them on the market.
That's a good point.
Because, we don't want those snags in the middle of the transaction. So the more experience you have on the listing side, selling sellers, the better.
Yeah, and I can think of one specific loan we got into that, to your point, Trevor, should have never had an FHA option available because it was like a 1912 house and it just wasn't maintained. There was no way it was going to pass a VA or FHA appraisal, and it didn't. But, to your point, somebody with knowledge on the listing side.
And a buyer's agent. There's so much discussion in the news right now. We'll have another show about that after the final rollout on the 17th. But so much information in the news about buyer's agents, and an experienced buyer's agent would be able to help with those
Absolutely.
red flags on the front side.
And we make sure they're partnered with a very good lender that we work as a team. And that's so important too, to get that before you even go out to look at houses. You need to talk with a lender.
No, it's all relationship business. It really is. And the better line of communication that you have during the process, the better experienced lender, experienced realtor, the experienced lender's team, which includes a processor and underwriter. This all comes into play to a smooth transaction and getting it across the finish line.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and at least from our experience, we use who helps us, who we trust on the front side to deliver on the back side to closing.
Very
And-
true,
Yes,
Sterling.
and obviously we trust Dave, and hopefully that is the reputation that you have with your agent if you have someone different, or that Trevor and I have come to really appreciate with other agents in our community who we like to work with over and over, just like a lender over and over. All right, Dave. Well, I'm just looking at the clock at 8:38, so we'll
Wow.
have to.
Went by quick.
I know. We'll have to see what happens. I'm sure it'll be all over the news.
I'm sure I will be too.
All
Yeah.
over the
I mean,
news.
how did
and-
you get notified? Did the company kind of say, here's what's going on? Or do they do a webinar? Or how do they announce? They just say,
Well, I usually check the news.
Check the news.
Get a ticker right there. So,
all right.
and it might take a few minutes to get announced.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of announcements, before we close, there's a big announcement tomorrow from the Gateway Partnership, and I'm not holding back any information because I don't know what it is either. But Gateway Partnership is the organization that really helps drive economic development, or one of the many, to Rocky Mount and Edgecombe County, and it is at Nash Community College tomorrow Edgecombe
Edgecombe,
Community College tomorrow
yeah.
afternoon. Actually, where
4:30, yeah.
Dave's wife works. Yep, tomorrow afternoon, end of the day, at 4:30, and I think Sandra and the WIG TV team are going to be there and streaming on Facebook or posting on Facebook. So I keep looking over at her. But anyway, be in touch for that, because certainly as we think about all the things that are important to buyers and sellers with rates, we certainly think about industry and how significant and important that is by bringing buyers to our community. Buyers with good paying jobs, and just really excitement for our community. So honestly, super promising information from you,
Very much
and
is.
from the feds, and from hopefully what's going to be announced tomorrow afternoon. So more fun things to come.
Good things, for
Yeah.
sure.
All right. Well, I hope you'll have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.